When we talk about vampire writers, there's always going to be a few writers that are just tethered to the genre. They can't escape. You got your Bram Stokers and your Anne Rices. Even when they try to get outside of the genre and write something else, tough shit, loser. You're the vampire writer. Get wrecked. That is what you were saddled with. And you even got your writers who maybe vampires aren't their main thing, but we acknowledge that they swim in those waters and we welcome them with open arms. We're glad to have them. Those are your Stephen Kings, right? Or maybe your Thomas Hardys. Yes, they experiment with vampires. Great. Fantastic. But there's another category, and it's the really fun one. It's the what the hell, I had no idea this author dealt with vampires. Those people you can have a lot of fun with. I'm talking about your Jules Verne's, your Orson Welles, your Alexander Dumas's. All those people also worked in the vampire genre. They're not at the top of your mind, right? But they did it too. It's almost as though the genre is so alluring, it pulls in artists and writers of all sorts of genres who feel like they have to try their hand at it, right? Well, I'm going to tell you one of those stories today, and it's one that even those of you who are avid vampire scholars, I'm going to bet this is new information to a lot of people because it's about a fundamental American writer who also dabbled in vampires, who probably doesn't come to your mind when you think about shambling undead corpses who like to bite waifs.
Well, do tell us more.
What I'm talking about here is a Southern Gothic vampire tale with a hell of a mashup title, Dreadful Hollow. Good title, right? You'd read that. I'd read that. We would have a watch party for the adaptation of that, would we not? We would. Well, this particular tale was called brilliant and compelling by the people who read it. But who wrote it? Would you believe William Faulkner? The William Faulkner whose books you probably skimmed in 12th grade and maybe didn't read all the way through. Yes, I'm telling on myself a little bit here. With apologies to my very good teachers, I did not finish Sound and the Fury, and I'm not going to. You can't make me. You have no more power over me.
You have no power here.
William Faulkner wrote this screenplay for Howard Hawks. Now, if you are a cinephile, you know who Howard Hawks is, right? Bringing Up Baby, The Big Sleep, His Girl Friday. I mean, Howard Hawks is the it guy of the 1940s. And so when he said to William Faulkner, hey, would you take a stab at doing this adaptation for me? I've got this book here called Dreadful Hollow. I want you to put it on the screen. And William Faulkner said, I'll do it for the lulz. And he did. I don't even know if there was really even a contract that existed between them. Faulkner just did it on a whim. The movie Dreadful Hollow that Howard Hawks hired William Faulkner to write the screenplay for never got produced. And that's not alarming, right? Most screenplays don't get made. I can say this as a formerly optioned screenwriter. Lots of screenplays get contracted for, get optioned, get written, and never get produced. Most screenplays don't get made. Most good screenplays don't get made into movies. It's not worth crying over, and I, for one, am certainly not bitter.
You bastards.
Look, here's the thing that makes all this really interesting, right? Because we can't read the screenplay. We are talking about a piece of writing by one of the titans of American literature, right? And we can't see it. It has been kept hidden from us for the better part of a century. And why would it be intriguing to see this? Because this is unedited. This is not a book that the publisher got a hold of and made changes to. This is not a screenplay that Faulkner wrote that then got translated to screen by a director. These are his words as he put them on the page, and it would be really intriguing to see his process in that way, but we can't. Now, when I said it's his words, I should qualify that a little bit because Faulkner was adapting a novel, the 1942 novel, also called Dreadful Hollow, by Irina Karlova, whose real name was Helen Mary Elizabeth Clamp, and I have to credit J.F. Norris for that bit of detective work on that. So Hawks asks his drinking buddy Faulkner to adapt this book, and Faulkner goes, "What the hell? I'll do it." And Hawks casts Vampira for one of the leading roles. Vampira accepts the casting, but then the movie falls apart and she wants out, and nothing ever happens with it. Years later, after Faulkner had drank himself and epitheted himself into an early grave, an unconfirmed claim, Hawks gave a copy of the screenplay to Professor Bruce Cowan with the instructions that it was never to be shown to anyone. And so far, Bruce Cowan has kept that promise. He has never shown it to anybody. Now, years after that, William Faulkner's daughter finds a copy of the screenplay in Faulkner's papers, and she gives it to Faulkner's executor. The executor also does not show it to anyone. Ordinarily, when a Nobel Prize-winning best-selling author hides some of their work away, and then even their protectors and inheritors don't want to show it to anybody, it can usually mean one of two things. One, they are planning a big publicity release and want to make a bunch of money off of it. And two, it's fucking awful. Which is it here? Well, I can only take the words of Bruce Cowan, who says that it is a brilliant piece of writing and it's very compelling. So, reportedly, it's good. We've also had 2 peaks of vampire interest, maybe 3 peaks of vampire interest since the 1940s. So there's been plenty of opportunities to get this out there. And for whatever reason, it's going to keep gathering dust. Now, there is one more copy out there. And it was found by Michelle E. Moore, Professor Michelle E. Moore. And she's out there digging around in the basement of Brigham Young University, and she finds the screenplay. Brigham Young University, not the first place I would go for forgotten vampire ephemera, but that is where Howard Hawks' papers are. That's where she finds it. Now, I have not read the source book of Dreadful Hollow, and frankly, it does not come highly recommended, except, oddly, by Lucille Ball, who can be seen with a copy of it in this picture with Desi Arnaz and Eddie Cantor. Small world, I guess. But from what I can gather, it is a gothic tale. It takes a lot of cues from Anne Radcliffe and a lot of influence from the Universal horror pictures. It just doesn't succeed as a story, I guess. But Michelle E. Moore says the screenplay adaptation by William Faulkner is considerably better. Now, I'm not going to do a big summary here of it. I'm going to put a link below. You can read Michelle E. Moore's summary if you like. But briefly, just the high-level notes are that there are, yes, vampire lesbians, and yes, giant man-bat creatures, and yes, a lynching. Which, if you know William Faulkner's Southern novels, you would probably not find totally out of place. I guess I didn't actually finish most of his novels, so I don't know. It seems like it would be there. Sorry, Mr. Voss.
I didn't read it.
We almost got to see this film if it had been made in the 1940s, and we almost had another chance to see it in the 2000s when Lee Kaplan tried to get another version of it off the ground. But just like the Howard Hawks version, it floundered and failed, and still we don't get to see the screenplay that William Faulkner made.
So you're the reason I have to wear a necktie in the middle of the week.
Look, I get it. This is an unsatisfying ending to this story. The secret remains a secret. The screenplay remains clouded in mystery. The Southern lesbian vampire gothic tale doesn't come to the screen years before the Hammer horrors. The star vehicle for Vampira never makes it to the silver screen. It's frustrating. That's not the ending we would like to have, but it's just all, gone with the wind, like a revenant who turns into mist and gets blown away. Thank you for getting the reference. And Faulkner himself, look, he's got his demons. We don't have to linger or celebrate those, but he does have one more Nobel Prize than me or you or any of us know personally. So he probably knew his way around telling a good tale, and I, for one, would be very interested to have seen his take on vampires. And if it had ever come to fruition, then we could have high school students pretend to watch Faulkner's movies, just like I pretended to read his books. And also John Steinbeck's books. Sorry.